A weasel gets wasted, a cartoon gets criticized, and the numbers, they're not too nifty. On today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Who was it who said, alliteration always annoys? Hi, my name's Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker and Residential Sales Manager for ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 79. So how are you guys all doing this week? So it's like 2:30 here on a Thursday, and I'm finally got time to sit down and, basically do my podcast, which is turning into the highlight of the week, which is I'm 79 episodes, and I'm starting to look forward to this. It's getting more and more fun. So it's been quite the week here in real estate right now. I got a lot to talk about, not a lot of time to talk about it, so let's get straight to it. First, we did indeed have a weasel get himself wasted, and I'm very, very happy. A little backstory. Earlier this week, we're recruiting here at ProStar, and we had an interview with a young gentleman, good track record. He's been in real estate for quite some time, and he's just looking to make that next step. And, every once in a while, you sit there and it's like you've done everything where you can do where you're at. And it's good to get out there and, explore how other places do. And so he came in from another brokerage, and we were sitting there talking to him. And he casually asked what we thought about wholesalers. Now, longtime viewers of this show knows what Ray thinks about wholesalers. And without thinking, I looked him dead in the eye and said, wholesalers are the Antichrist. And that actually really sort of shocked him and stuff. And what it came down to it is he was not looking at wholesaling himself, but since he's also an investor, he's been known to pick up his own properties. And he wanted to make sure that we would be okay if he's working for us as an agent, purchasing properties on himself. And we've all listed a property and sold it to an investor, right? That's one thing. It's when you just you sit there and you do your client dirty because they are your client, right? And we came to a meeting of the minds on that. It's like he does not do that. All right. He always knows. He always makes sure that the client understands what the true value of their property is when they sell it. Sometimes they don't want to put it on the MLS; they just want to get rid of it. And he goes to his investors and finds an investor to sell it to. That's not wholesaling and that bandit signs on the side of the road kind of thing. Now, the infamous Ray's rant about wholesalers video is still out there. I never did get it edited out or anything like that. So there's part of me that says, I should just tack it on to the end of this video, and just let it fly, because nobody stays past the credits, because otherwise you would be commenting on all the cool little images and whatnot I put on the end as a joke. I think one person has ever sat there and said, oh, wow, I saw that last little, cookie, Easter egg that you left at the end of the video. It's like, yeah, thanks. I know you just got distracted by something else, and all of a sudden, it was on the screen when the video ended. But, in this particular case, I might tack that thing on the end. So stay past the credits if you guys want to watch that. If I have enough time to process the whole thing and get this uploaded by 5 o'clock, because it's a pretty big rant. So once I was done, with the young man who came through for the interview and everything like that, strangely enough, right, State of Arizona Department of Real Estate. All right, ARDE or ADRE sends out a message to all the real estate agents in there, where a Arizonan receives the 2022 International Real Estate Investigator Award. All right, don't know if you guys realize that there is actually international real estate investigators, all right? And there's an association, International Association of Real Estate Investigators. And what a real estate investigator does is they make sure that us, the real estate agents of the world, are doing our jobs legally and ethically and all that other stuff. So there was a staffer who was recognized by this international association. His name is Bert Breisenthal. All right, of the Arizona Department of Real Estate, or Brett Breisenthal, and I swear to God, he's a guy who did our audit a couple years ago, and this guy did an incredible job of running this guy to ground. Okay, this particular weasel. They don't mention the name of the licensee, all right? But they received a complaint about this licensee back in January of 2020, all right? And what he was doing is that he was wholesaling properties while being a licensed real estate agent, while not disclosing that he was a licensed real estate agent, and basically doing that little scammy thing that I've been ranting about for the last 2 years. So not only did they get 9 complaints on this guy, but then they sicked Brett on him. And Brett, the investigator, goes down, runs through all these complainants and stuff like that, does the initial investigation, which was only 3 of the original 9, all right, and determined that the licensee, in this case, this nefarious real estate agent, was not disclosing that he was a licensee, which we all have to do, all right? I mean, technically, if I answer the phone and I talk to anybody about anything, the first thing comes out of my mouth is supposed to be, "Hi, I'm a licensed real estate agent. Yes, can I schedule a reservation at that hotel?" That kind of stuff, all right? But so he goes through and they find out that he's not doing it, and they cite the guy. And then what happens is they do a follow-up on this guy. All right, and he does it 7 more times. Right, this agent goes out there and misleads the public 7 more freaking times, and this guy, follows him up like, what's that movie? Forget it. It's too late in the day for me to come up with movie references. You're going to have to just deal with what I got. So, anyways, runs him to dirt and gets him kicked out. All right, happy day. So, Brett the Weasel Slayer. All right, good job, man. Now, on our numbers, all right? So our numbers going on this week, and just moving right along. At the top of each month, all right, and when we last left this show, it was still July. Now that it's August, which means we get our Cromford report on August 1st, or the 1st of every month. And it's sort of a consolidation of everything that's going on. Yes, house prices are dropping. No, it's not crashing. I know it's not crashing because ABC 15, all right, did a news article today. And my listeners and clients and stuff out there, they send me these news articles. And this one was like, "Oh, wow, look, they're saying what you're saying." I'm like, "Thank you, ABC. You're only like a month and a half late." But, it's nice to see these media companies, they do tend to trudge along, and they do eventually catch up with their stories. We have a sort of a correction going on. According to Cromford, we're looking down about 5% in some zip codes from our previous highs. And with a, as an overall portion of the market, when you average them all together and you have average median list pricing and medium home price and everything, we are seeing a downturn across there. A lot of it, I think, of that is still very, very much dialed into the listings that are out there that are starting to come. I mean, I'm looking in some zip codes, listing drops where people like dropping them 70, 80,000. Okay. And at those price points, that's almost like 15% off the top, I want to say. I'd have to work the math out in my head, but so yeah, the sellers are coming back from their original positions. Like, oh yeah, let's get just who sold last. Let's add 10 grand to that and try to get that. All right, they are coming back. We're starting to see listings come on, and more realistic from the get-go. I mean, like just straight on, they're coming out at certain points. And this is going to suggest a downturn. Now, remember, we have seasonality here, right? Seasonality is the ebb and flow of real estate market, much like the tides, right? And that happens during the course. And we normally see a slight downturn here in this July, August, September state. So, and that's in a normal balanced market. When people the buying frenzy's out of the way and sellers are starting to get not as interested, or at least the buyers are not as interested. So we always see an upsurge in inventory, right? And we always see a downsurge in medium app. And usually not 5% though. Okay, that's showing you that kind of correction. Now, are we going to have the crash? No, we still don't have any of the dynamics in place for a crash. In fact, this Cromford report, one of the things that they notice is that how quickly this happened. I mean, like literally, it started June, halfway through June, we started to see it in downtick, which normal seasonality. June happens all the time. It was July, and now that we've wrapped up July, we can really sit there and go, wow. It's dropped. In fact, Cromford is saying it's actually dropped more than they've seen it happen in the past. And one of the things that they suggest on this is that the reason for that is because there's so many people who have post-traumatic stress syndrome from the 2008 crash. They've just decided to jump out already. I think that has a lot to do with the investors. Now, another bit of news that came out that's really interesting, right? And this is, okay, tinfoil hats on, guys. All right, we're going down the rabbit hole. Blackwater apparently has $50 billion ready to go to start buying real estate again. Strangely enough, Blackwater is also one of those people who decided to stop buying. All right. And when you are that much of a player, if you decide to stop buying, you can almost recreate your own weather. All right. They stop buying. That means, oh my God, houses start going in. You can actually kick off a market change and then swoop in afterwards. It's actually illegal if you do it with stocks, which I think is interesting, but you can do it with real estate. Case in point, something somebody pointed out last year is if I'm an iBuyer, okay, I can buy 15 properties in a neighborhood. Best price I can get them for. All right. And of those 15 properties, all right, I just need to sell one. All right. If I buy 15 properties for, let's say, $300,000, right, and I know they're worth $350,000. Okay, and I turn around and buy them for $300,000, and I only need to sell one at $350,000, and then the paper value of all of my other properties, all right, are suddenly $350,000. I made $50,000 per transaction, per property on paper, because the value of those have all gone up. All right, that's the way the financial game gets played in these things. So they actually are in that ability where they have that much, right? They can sell one, okay, and bam, all of a sudden that sets the price point. And that actually sort of tracks in with the way I see some of these iBuyers going. I just talked to one of my previous clients. I mean, we got her out into Sun City, all right, sold her townhome here in downtown Phoenix to an iBuyer. And she's tracking her old property. They originally put it on the market at the price point I told her that we could put it on the market at. Right? They didn't buy it at that point, right? Because she needed out quick, and she did not want to have a bunch of strange people coming through her house. I really should go down through that and see if they've actually replaced a carpet in it or anything like that. But all right, they're starting to drop their price down because they hit that high price point, the on-market price point, didn't get any buyers, and now they're starting. And this seems to be that particular iBuyer's business model. They used to just throw it out there high and wait for the market to catch up with them. Right? I saw that several times. It's like, hey, why is this house 60 days on the market? Oh, it's an iBuyer. And yeah, they're 30, 40,000 over, what's normal for that neighborhood. They're just waiting for the neighborhood to catch up with them because they could play that long game. So that's the wild card in the deck right now. That's the one thing that we don't have, or that we have today, that we didn't have back in 2006. All right. I mean, you guys say 2008, I say 2006, and we've had that conversation why it's 2006 you need to watch. All right. We didn't have that iBuyer thing. Now, iBuyers are still buying. All right. A lot of other investors are not buying, in fact, but it's only gone down, looking at these numbers. Home investors, people who are buying a house to turn around and rent it out, were normally 20% of the market month to month. Now they've dropped down to 18. Is that the big institutional, the BlackRocks of the world? All right. Or is that the mom and pop people just saying, oh, no, I'm not going to buy in this. I think we're going to note. But all these things eventually do add up. So where are we going to be next week? Don't know. There are days I think I should just start doing like daily reports. It's like, hi, this is Ray Dawson. It is 3:00 in the afternoon, and oh my God, this just happened. Right? And then come back. Hi, it's 4:45. Check fire. That got changed around. So fun market we got going on. But let's look at our numbers and see what we do have going on here. So numbers for August 3rd, 2022. Took these yesterday at 9:00 in the morning. Actives this week are 17,746. That's up 536 from the week before. We see that active number is still going up, but the rate of the delta is starting to slow down. All right. New listings are 2,620, okay, which is actually down 132 from the week before that. We are seeing new listings starting to decrease. Less people are putting their houses on the market than used to. All right. Fortunately, that's balanced out by under contracts looking for backup at 777, down 85. Pendings are at 1,233, down 85, and contracts with the buyer's contingency are 125, up 18. All right, our closes this week are 1,789, and of course, coming soon is 924, which is actually also down. So, there it is. The active listings are starting to slow up. All right, they're still going up, but the rate of going up is slowing. All right, you'll always see the parabolic arcs, people. All right, our pendings are still going down. All right, and that's why we do see that active still going up. But the new listings, this is the third week in a row we've seen new listings go down. All right, don't know how I feel about that. All right, we can talk about that another day. Right now, our demand right there is 80.8, okay, and our supply is 66.5, all right? So we have 80 people looking at 66 houses. Almost, when we start talking, this is a balanced market, all right, in the entire thing. Remember, we need these two numbers to be within 10 of each other. That's a balanced market. Even if they flip, if they're within 10, they're considered a balanced market. Now, when both of these numbers together are under the 100 mark, right? That's just bad time for real estate agents, loan officers, escrow officers, home inspectors, appraisers, anybody else involved in the real estate community, all right? Right, from our industry thing, high, low, we still get paid unless both of those numbers are low, and there's just not enough deals out there going on. So I've been getting a lot of calls from a lot of real estate agents, and a lot of people are looking for their next deal, right? So I'm expecting to see a die-off of real estate agents over the next 18 months or so. A lot of people are not going to be renewing their licenses. They're going to go back to doing whatever it was they were doing before. God bless them, one and all. So that's the numbers, all right? We're not looking golden, right? But it's still early on in the process, and we still have seasonality. Interest rates have balanced out, though, and that's really interesting. You're not going to see this effect on those numbers that I just showed you for a couple of weeks or so, but you are going to start seeing this happen, all right? We seem to have balanced, finally, at somewhere in the low fives, high fours. In fact, I just got an ad from a lender yesterday saying that they're loaning in the high fours. Right? And so we just need those numbers to balance out, just be level, none of these big mood swings, or anything like that. And that's what we see what's going on. So heard from multiple lenders, multiple agents, buyers that would not pick up the phone for the last 4 or 5 months are suddenly calling them back up. All right. Now that you can see these numbers, they're no longer as scared as they were. We are, that's good, because remember last week I'm like, we're locking rates as fast as we can because we have no idea what it's going to be in the next hour. All right. Now we're starting to see them level out, which is exactly what we hope to see. That is very good news for everybody right now. So on to happier things. Let's talk about a cartoon. All right. So like I said earlier, people send me news articles. People send me things. They send me little meme photos and stuff like that, and I love them all. They keep me entertained. Sometimes distract me from doing the work I'm supposed to. But 2 of them crossed my radar this week. All right, and they're both really, really hit close to home for me. Right, and the first one is a South Park episode. All right, South Park episode. Let me see if I can look this up real quick. Season 25, episode 3. All right, season 25. I did not realize South Park has been around that long. All right, honestly, I haven't watched it in years. All right, but somebody sent it because in this episode, Cartman's mom gets a job as a real estate agent. All right, there's an entire inline subset of drama mentioning about single mothers becoming real estate agents. There's actually 2 agents who lost their license in Denver. They were full-time agents, and they made an advertising campaign about the fact that they are full-time agents and other real estate agents are part-time agents. And unfortunately for them, they used contrasting pictures, and one picture was them in their suits, being all professional and stuff like that. And the other one was a picture of a mom holding a baby, stirring a pot with her phone like this. All right. And underneath they said part-time agent. Now, I'm not going to make any comments about the accuracy of that image or anything like that, but it really disparaged, women working in real estate. Boom, gone. The wrath of the gods came down upon them. So, yeah. from a brokerage standpoint, boys and girls, watch your marketing material. I got stuff out there that would just basically get me banned from the face of the earth if I actually got to use it. They don't let me do these things, right? You need that voice of reason, that voice of sanity. That should be called your broker. Anytime you come up with a great marketing idea, you're supposed to run it by your broker first, so you're not being used as an example on Ray's Unnamed Real Estate podcast, right? So don't do that, right? But in this particular episode, right, Cartman's mom becomes a real estate agent. Cartman gets upset because he does not want his mom doing anything but being mom. All right, because Cartman's that way, if you know the show. So he decides he's going to be a real estate agent. And the whole rest of the episode is all about Cartman being a real estate agent, with the sub-theme of South Park, this quiet little mountain town outside of Denver, is being swarmed with people from the city who are coming in, buying little mountain town houses, driving up the prices. All right, and basically destroying the city. All right, I'm looking at these things. I've been on both sides of that equation. I've actually, been in the little town and suburby kind of place. It's all nice and quiet. Next, you get McMansions building up on the hills where you used to be able to go hiking and whatnot because, hey, California just showed up, or the city people just showed up. And then on the flip side, hey, I'm in real estate. All right, I sell houses to those city people who are showing up. So, but it was real. The thing that got me was the city council meeting where everybody's sitting there going, this is great. They're wonderful. All these people from the city are coming in here and they're spending all this money and this and that and the other thing. And we should encourage this. And then as soon as they realize the downsides of it, who do they throw under the bus? Who do they literally take guns, spoiler alert, and start hunting down like the vermin they are? They go after the real estate agents. Because as soon as they were no longer enjoying the change, they hunt down the real estate agents. Laughed my butt off, right? So watch that episode. It's actually pretty good. There's a couple little things you actually have to be a real estate agent to really get. All right, one of them is, do I actually have one? Yeah. Cartman's mom's wearing one of these. Okay, this is mine. I've had it forever. It's still in the bag. Why is that? Because I'm not putting, if I'm wearing your logo, you're paying me to wear your logo. I'm like NASCAR that way, right? And they are definitely not paying me to wear that. So that's number one, all right? That's one there's another one where they're doing these, they do these videos of the properties. And I recognize the style of that because that used to be really, really popular about 10 years ago. It was called the virtual tour experience. And all they do is they just take your they take your marketing photos and like do this with us on the screen. Ooh, ooh, and it was supposed to look like you were, and there was some sort of like classic jazz in the background and little numbers overlay. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,420 square feet, Vista Villas. Your home of excellence. And it was just crap, all right? And when that came out, like every agent in the world thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm just looking at it going, guys, this is crap. But that's why I only did those to make sellers happy, because sellers like, well, everybody else got a little video, thing with all the slideshows going on. Why can't I have one? Okay, here it is. Go knock yourself out. It's not going to sell your house, but it made you happy. So that's all in this episode too. And that's yeah, my little dark heart chuckled at that point. And then the other thing that they play off of is this reoccurring theme of real estate agents don't do anything. And I blame for that concept of real estate's not doing anything. Won't say their name, all right, but I know the algorithm can't figure out what that is. All right. But an organization who may or may not be associated with something in a little plastic bag that's not meth. All right. And the reason why is that organization has done a lousy job. All right. Even though their entire purpose in the world is to promote the brand and to inform the populace, the public, the clients of what that group of individuals do for a living, they really suck at it. Okay, let's be honest, right? The fact, all right, if South Park's making fun of your industry, it's probably because you suck. All right, and why? Because you do a really lousy job of saying what you actually do for a living. All right, informing the population of being, hey, we're subject matter experts in this particular field. We know how to decipher the 112-page home inspection that you got. We know this is important and that is not. We know how to deal with when suddenly we have a financing issue. Right? We need to know how to really sit you down and figure out what you think is a want and what you think is a need. All sorts of things. And what you need to do to your house to sell it, as opposed to, yeah, that actually does need to go away. Nobody likes grandma's sarcophagus in the living room. And no, they're not going to want it to convey with the property. Whatever the thing is. So, and I tell you that to tell you this, because the second bit of media that dropped upon me was cracked.com. A YouTube video, and it is another parody, and this parody is sort of a parody of all those home and garden television episodes that I hate so much. And it's like, she's a district attorney, he imitates dogs, right? They're going to go buy a house, and they got this guy who comes in there, and it's the truth in advertising. Apparently he's got a whole theme of these things, but it's a truth about real estate. They're talking about how you don't really want to buy a house. Why? Because they're death pits. Okay, you got 4 walls, another wall on top that sort of isn't really a wall, but sort of looks like a wall. There's a basement that probably has deadly mold in it, and the top there's a ghost who probably died from the mold. And this is their reoccurring theme. So they're taking this young little millennial group through the house and having the conversation of, yeah, see everything in that basement? You're going to be responsible for fixing it now because you're going to be the homeowner. See this front yard you don't actually need? Yeah, we're going to sell it, and you're going to have that. And I get the argument. I've heard these things like a million times, usually by city dwellers who are trying to explain, no, man, I'm living in the city for the diversity, and I got a falafel shop right around, and I don't need anything more than this little closet to live in, man, and I don't even own a car, so who needs a garage? Why are you even bothering with a house, man? Here, have a craft beer. Yeah, those guys. So anyways, it's really in that tone. Okay, and it's entertaining, because one thing I really, really do agree with on this particular thing is at one point they start talking about zoning and how all the people, once they got their house, don't want you having your house on their drive to work. So they're going to make sure that that affordable little itty bitty ugly house is not going to get built in their pristine, beautiful neighborhood with their gorgeous trees and whatever it is, their vistas, their views, all right? And they like the fact that they don't have a lot of schools because they're all over a certain age, but they don't have kids anymore. So, God, we don't want more families moving in. They're just going to drive up the tax requirements, and next thing you know, we're going to have to pay more for schools and this and that. And why don't we just live in, So zoning, you've heard me yell about this thing like a zillion times. Even cracked.com gets it now. All right. Zoning, those people, you want to get this thing all straightened out, right? You got to start building houses, and you can't build a house if Mrs. Crabtree, all right, with her little frickin' petition going, we don't need low-income housing in our neighborhood, all right? You see her, hit her with a car. Joke. That was a joke. The Unnamed Real Estate Podcast does not endorse or promote hitting Mrs. Crabtree or any other person signing a petition with your car. All right. I'm really tired, and as you can tell, I'm very, very, very wired. So we're going to end this one right now. It is 30 minutes, which means probably too late to add on my the infamous wholesaler rant. But you guys have, follower. You guys have a really, really great day, great weekend. It's going to be raining, which means you're probably not going to be going outside. So we're going to amend the Watch the Kids and Animals Around Water, and we're going to say this week, if the road is flooded, do not drive into it. All right? Do not be the stupid driver that we're all watching on the 6 o'clock news as they bring the helicopter in to pull you off the hood of your Suburban because you thought you could go through the wash. Don't be that person. All right? Guys, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about a species of real estate investor, very specific. They're called wholesalers. And they are an entity that exists, especially here in Maricopa. They are real estate investors. They just have a certain method model that they go through. Full disclosure right now, this is going to be very much an editorial, and I am going to have facts in here, but you're also going to hear my personal opinion on this, right? Because wholesalers are the Antichrist. Not all of them. Most of them. Their business model itself is pretty cruddy. I know a couple wholesalers. I think I even got one who's actually liked my channel, and if she sees this, I truly apologize, but I did try to talk you out of this. All right. But what a wholesaler does is the person that puts a sign up that's usually we call them bandit signs. They're on the little wire frame. You see them on the side of the road, usually when you're sitting there trying to turn off or something like that. And it usually says, "We buy ugly houses for cash," or "cash offer for all houses," whatever it is. And they are willing to buy your house for cash. I'll buy your house for cash. I'll buy your house for cash, whatever house you're living in right now, this second. All right. As long as I get to pick one or two things. All right. You let me pick the price, or you let me pick the day I'm actually going to close on it. And if you let me pick both, well, I will definitely buy your house. And you're not going to be selling your house for full price. All right. And that's pretty much how wholesalers work. It's they're going to come in and they're going to offer to buy your house. It could be distressed. You're looking at a foreclosure coming on. You're behind on payments. It could be a family member's house and they just passed away or just moved out and you're the executor of the estate and you need to get rid of the house. Either way, they're going to come in and make you an offer. The offer is not going to be the market offer. The offer is going to be substantially less than market. And that's how they're going to wind up making their money. Because they're not actually, at the end of the day, going to be owning the house that they buy from you. Because what they're going to do is they're going to get your house under contract. And they're going to agree to pay you on a set date a set amount of money. That amount that they're going to be buying your house for is going to be less than they can sell it on the open market. And they will go, once they have your house under contract, call up their list of investors. And they all should have, multiple investors, flippers down the road. And they're going to turn around and take your contract. Let's say I get you to sign a contract with me that says in 15 days, I'm going to buy this house for $200,000. And I know in the back of my head your house is worth $275,000. If you ever see the sign on the side of the road that says, I just saw one today, I should have took a picture of it, Peoria 32, 225, value $375. That's exactly what that person has done. All right, that person has gotten that house at $225 under contract and is trying to sell it for $375 because they did the work to figure out what an actual market rate is, and they realized it's $375. So they're looking for the person who's going to come in and says, I'd love to buy a house that's worth $375 and put some work into it. So you got it at $225. How about if I pay you $235, $245, something around in there? A lot of wholesalers, they're not swinging for the fences. They're not looking for their home run. They just want to get your house under contract and then turn around and sell that contract to somebody else. The technical term is assign it. So if you ever see a contract that says John Smith and or assignees, that's a dead giveaway that you're dealing with a wholesaler. And then they're going to turn around and sell it to one of their investors for a little bit more. They're basically just bird dogging the deal. And they don't need to come up with their own money. If you ever see those seminars of buy houses, invest in real estate with other people's money, this is the product and the project that I'm talking to you about. They're going to come in, get your house under contract for less than the market rate, and they're going to sell it for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 more to somebody else who actually knows what the value of it is. And you get your check. They do this really cool thing at escrow where they can do a split closing where the end buyer, let's say the investor, is going to put the money in escrow. The wholesaler is going to be in there. The seller comes in, right? And escrow just takes the money from the investor, washes it, I shouldn't use the term wash, moves it through escrow, makes sure everybody gets paid out, and the original homeowner walks away thinking they did okay. And this is, every time I see those signs, my soul dies a little bit inside, because I know that's what these people are. I honestly believe wholesalers out there are the Sith Lords compared to the Jedi of the real estate agents. All right. So I say that to say this. All right. I have offered to train people who wanted to be wholesalers. They come up to me, they say, hey, what's this wholesaling stuff? And da 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 da. You know, I hear I can do this. And I tell them everything I just told you. And then I tell them, and I'll tell you how to do that. All right. I'll give you the leads. I'll give you a list of 50 houses to go knock on their door and say, hey, I want to pay less for your house than it's worth. All right. I will give you the price that it's actually worth. And you can go out there and do the groundwork and try to go get in front of these people's faces and maybe get the house under contract. But do not ever let Ray talk to the person you're trying to hold, your house you're trying to get under contract with. Because Ray is going to tell him what that house is actually worth. And your deal, Mr. or Mrs. Wholesaler, is not going to exist after I talk to that person. And that's just how that game's going to get played. Right? I have made this offer to a whole bunch of people. Nobody has ever took me up on it. Right? Because I give them the same speech about you do not do it this way and this is how this thing works. And, they decide to go pay $500 for a seminar. Well, some guy who's got a lot better hair than me, right? A lot nicer shirt on, and maybe one of those little boom mics, and he's going to sit up there and walk on stage. Is like, hey, does anybody want to make some money today? Yeah, those people, all right? He was selling Amway 10 years prior. Now he's teaching you how to wholesale houses, all right? So if I personally offended anybody when I just made that statement, go, is he talking about me? Yeah, I probably am. See, I told you this was going to be an editorial. So I tell you that to tell you this. Wholesalers actually do serve a purpose in our ecology, all right? Just like vultures serve a purpose in our ecology, right? Because there honestly are houses out there that are unlivable, all right? And we're talking ugly houses, all right? We're not just talking the house that's outdated. We're not just talking the house that needs new carpet and new paint job. We're not just talking the house that needs work done to it. We're talking seriously, they are no longer economically viable because of space, size, condition. All right. Those houses need to go somewhere. All right. And that is where the flipper comes in. A lot of home buyers that I've encountered want to come in and purchase a house and get some sweat equity. And they might think, oh, I want a house that I can put some sweat equity into. I don't want to pay the house that's all dolled up, ready to go. I want to be able to do that myself. Some people actually have the skill sets so they can do that. Some people actually realize what they're getting into. But when you show them the sweat equity house and they start realizing the real sweat equity house is the kitchen and the bathrooms, not just paint and carpet, then all of a sudden they want to start looking at the houses that have already been done. But a flipper is going to go in there. Let's take for example, a house I just saw yesterday. The nice looking house, 1,100 square feet, decent location, a location that's going to be really worth something in the next 5-10 years because that neighborhood is blowing up. But the house is very, very close to original in style. It is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Modern families do not do 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. A flipper could look at that house and go, we got good bones here to work with, right? We can knock a wall down between the living room and the kitchen and the dining room area, make it a great room, and we can build onto the back of the house. We can add square footage to this. So we just took this house that is no longer truly economically viable and make it something that more people are going to be interested in, more people are going to benefit. And you're going to have to add probably about, I'd say at least 1,000 square feet on that thing. Building off the back porch, you're going to have to redo a lot of the electrics, and that's going to take a lot of money. And a flipper can do that. Right. A flipper cannot do that with a house that he just bought at full market value, but he can do it on a, unless they're going really large. All right. Like Arcadia. Arcadia is buying $500,000 houses and knocking them down and putting a $2.5 million house in the same footprint. So, some neighborhoods you can do that with. But in many cases, those flippers, what they're doing is they're taking unviable housing and repurposing it and turning it into real housing. Right. Flippers got a bad deal, got a bad rep a couple years ago, because first time people were just watching these flippers take what could have been a starter home for them and suddenly putting it outside their price point, because there was a lot of houses out there that were still economically viable, but because the market was depressed, those houses weren't really being bought. And the wholesalers feed the flippers. The flippers really are they're the first, they're the ones who buy it from the wholesalers. And so those wholesalers do serve that purpose because it allows the flippers to work. But it's where the wholesaler starts ripping off people when it's a house that is economically viable. And I saw a lot of examples of this a couple years ago where I would see a house that flip. I'm showing it to a seller or to a buyer. I see the house and I go, okay, I see what they did. This is a flipped house. And I do my research before we put an offer in. And I'd see that the flipper has owned it for less than 90 days, which used to be a problem with FHA loans. And that house got transacted like 2 times, right before the flipper got it. Because when you go to the county recorder and the county assessor sites, you can see the purchase prices that were recorded down. And I used to see these ridiculously low numbers of the person would buy it for a ridiculously low house. And I do a little bit of research and I realized what they were doing. And this is something I want you to tell everybody, all right? That when you get your assessor's letter, and I'm going to do a complete video on how to decipher what the county assessor sends you. I don't know if they purposely make it as opaque and as possible, but they could do that a whole easier way to let people know what their assessment actually is. They use the biggest lie in the world, the biggest lie in government, and that's saying something. They use the term full cash value. And by using the term full cash value, it cements in your head that that's the actual price of your house. Yeah, and there's a reason why you don't want the assessor using full market value for your house over full cash value for your house when they're deciding how much they're going to charge you in taxes. But unscrupulous Sith lords, vultures of real estate would go up to grandma who needs to sell her house. They call her up on the phone and go, "Hi, can I talk to Miss Crabtree?" "Hi, this is Miss Crabtree." "Miss Crabtree, I'm working with a bunch of investors in your neighborhood, and we were wondering, have you given any consideration to selling your house? Because I have a seller that will give you full cash value for your house." And Miss Crabtree thinks this sounds wonderful. Full cash value. That's great. I don't have to worry about getting ripped off. And they go, "Do me a favor. Do you have your assessor's statement?" And either they save those things and she could pull that out. And he says, "Well, how about if I bring it and show it to you?" And they're going to show you a very formal piece of paper that says Maricopa County Assessors at the top of it that says your house is only worth $134,000. But we will write you a check for $134,000. And Ms. Crabtree sells it for $134,000 when if I had a sign out in front of it, she would have gotten $255. All right. That's a lie by omission. And I think if there's a wholesaler out there who's listening to this and then suddenly realize that's what they've been doing for the last couple of years of their lives, and they actually have been ripping off little old ladies, God bless you, get to church and repent of your sins. All right. But the reason why I bring this whole thing up is I got a call yesterday from a person, and I'm doing the little phone call. I actually, if you look on my channel, I do have a video that I did years ago ranting about this. But I was sitting there having the conversation with a person. I always say right, saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm a real estate agent. Every house I have is for sale. Which one are you talking about?" All right. I just disclosed I'm a real estate agent. All right. I got to do that every time I have a conversation with somebody about real estate. Hey, Ray, real estate agent. And they never listen to you. So she started going on. So, well, what kind of offer you think about making? She said, well, what do you think your self worth? And I said, I haven't really priced my my place lately. And she goes, well, I got a buyer who'd be willing to give you a full cash value. And she said that thing, and she summoned the thunder down on her. And I had a really great ranting little conversation about how full cash value was not full market value, and wound up hanging up on her. Because that's what I do. I'm really hard on phone solicitors, right? And that's what stimulated the reason why I needed to have this video today. Because I know these guys are still making phone calls. I know these guys can contact a hell of a lot more people a day than I can. If you have family members who own houses, if you ever get those calls yourself, right? Before you decide to sell your house to the person who's calling you up saying, I am working for an investor, I am working with an investor, before you call that sign on the side of the road, no matter how ugly you think your house is, call a real estate agent, not just me, any of them, and say, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. Can you do a BPO, a broker's price opinion on my house, so you at least in your head know what your house is going to be worth on the market if you go through a traditional sale? After you have that number in your head, then you can call the iBuyers. Then you can call the wholesalers, right? You're at least making an informed decision of what you're going to do. I was saying this years ago that when everybody was upset because Zillow estimates were so far off, I was saying I wish everybody knew their Zillow estimate in the back of their head, because I can sit there and explain to you why that number is wrong, right? But at least they will know the value of something closer to the value of their house than what the wholesaler is going to sell. So if there's an investor out there who's watching this video and would like to have a conversation about wholesaling and why it's this great and wonderful thing and how you're helping the consumer, here's the gauntlet. You, me, Zoom call. All right, we'll record live and have this conversation, and I will post it immediately after, unedited. You might know something I don't. You might be able to hand me my ass. You might be able to sit there and talk about how this little old lady, how you helped. All right, and you maybe you have, and maybe you get to sleep at night because you think about the little old lady you help. Or let me do another good one. All right, let's talk about the grieving person who is the executor of his mother's estate, who was so torn with grief, you came in and took the biggest issue off of his plate, how to get rid of the house. You helped them move out. You helped them move all of their stuff out, and you probably feel really, really good about that. All right. You also made a profit. Right. I can hear exactly what I just heard it. I heard it out there in the audience. All right. It's like, but Ray, you're a real estate agent. You get paid money to sell. And you're like, yes, I do. All right. And the value that I bring to that transaction is I'm getting you full market value for that house. The value that I'm bringing to that transaction is I'm making sure that my seller is not getting ripped off by anybody in the process. All right. I'm making sure that my seller, when they sell that house and they've agreed to a price with the buyer, and the buyer comes in and suddenly comes in with a shopping list 1.5 miles long on the Binzer of these are all the things we need to get repaired before we can buy this house. So how about we just deduct $30,000 off the price? All right. I'm the one who can come back and say, no, actually, that's not $30,000 worth of price. That's $5,000 worth of cheap repairs, and we'll get right on that, get ready to close. All right. That's what I bring to the table. Right. So anybody wants to call me up, anybody wants to pick up my challenge, have this conversation with me, I would really enjoy having it, because honestly, the lockdown's starting to get to me and I don't get to talk to enough strangers. All right. Thank you very much, guys. And any questions, complaints, concerns below. Have a great day.